Cruella is the latest Disney brought to life remake in cinemas and streaming on Disney+. It features lead performances by Emma Stone and Emma Thompson. But did anyone ask for this? And is it any good? Well, no and yes. Let's talk about Cruella right now. Cruella is set in 1970s London during that punk rock era. Cruella, played by Emma Stone, or Estella as we meet her firstly in the film, is an orphan. She is wandering around London trying to figure out what to do. She meets these young ruffians, Horace and Jasper. Yes, those. And they basically make this kind of ruffian gang where they grow up together, and Estella realizes that she wants to be a fashion designer because her brain for fashion is amazing. She's got the black and white hair as a child, which she was born with. Let's pop a hat on you. Let's, Cruella's almost a secondary character. Let's put her away and let's make Estella shine. Let's make Estella fit in and be all the wonderful things that, traditional life can be. But as we all know, things don't always go to plan. The other main character, I should say, is the Baroness, that's played by Emma Thompson. She's also a fashion designer at the top of her game. The world worships her. Think Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada. You get the same kind of vibe here. And that is only a compliment because it's a really, 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 really good thing. So the two basically face off each other at all these pop-ups and everything. They have these fashion battles, I guess you'd call them. It's the most gayest, fabulous thing I've ever seen Disney do, and I love it, and I'm here for it, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys thought of it. Because I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. It's very, very more adult than I thought it was going to be. Definitely not one to take really little kids to. There's a few scenes that will be very disturbing and difficult for you to explain. Now, the soundtrack is amazing. I've actually never in recent years gone, I want that soundtrack, I need that soundtrack, and I listened to it on Spotify on the way home and realized that the main theme now, Cruella, is done by Florence and the Machine. That should give you an idea of the vibe this movie and the soundtrack is going for. It is completely different to all the other live action Disney things they've done. It's the most bold, it's the most daring, and I tip my hat. It was fantastic. Emma Stone as Estella and Cruella, she was good. She was really good as Estella. There is a moment in the movie where she flips. She literally wakes up the next morning and she's Cruella. And it's a little jarring. And they try to get around it by making the other characters around it go, this is weird. And it is. It's weird for the audience too, because it's such a wild variance. She doesn't quietly slip into the villain. It's waking up the next morning and I'm Cruella. And it's a bit weird and a bit too much. That's the only thing that really didn't work for me with Emma Stone's performance, but it could also be the writing that led her down that path. On the complete opposite end is Emma Thompson, who is freaking fabulous in this film. She is channeling Meryl in Devil Wears Prada, but bringing her own thing to the table, and I was all about it. She is just as fierce, probably more fierce, more intimidating, and I really, really enjoyed what this character was, because we've never seen this character before. It's brand new. And I loved it. Mark Strong is another main character. He plays John, the strong silent type, so he is in it, not a whole lot, but enough to be memorable. And I definitely need to mention Horace and Jasper. So Horace is played by Paul Walter Hauser, and Jasper is played by Joel Fry. They are perfect bumbling sidekicks who are given some time to shine, but just enough to not overshadow everything else that's going on. And there is a lot going on in this movie. Speaking of a lot going on, this is much longer than I thought. This movie goes for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was expecting 90. So there is a point in the movie where you're thinking, right, this is it, this is going to wrap up, and it just keeps on going with a whole other act that probably could have been left for a sequel. I don't know. I really hope this does well and we get a sequel, because I really, really enjoyed this take on a villain. It's just so different. It's not like Maleficent at all. It's a completely different thing, and I really, really enjoyed that they leaned into the outsider and how that looked back in the 70s. There is also another character, Gerald. His name is Gerald. He owns a store. He is openly gay, and he is freaking fabulous. And I loved every scene he was in. He made everything better. He made it more light, more fun, more camp. And I definitely hope that this gets a sequel and that he is also in it as a main character. What didn't work, I think it was too long. They probably could have trimmed half an hour off it and bring it back down to the hour and a half ratio. There's one scene where I was like, why are you doing this? Where they do this big sweeping shot through this store and they're going through, rooms and stairways with just music behind it. And it probably goes on for about 45 seconds too long. And it's just like, what? And then you get to the point of what it is and you go, oh, do I really need that to show me that? It's a choice. And it is stylistic. But it's probably a choice that really didn't work for me. Now, I know you're going to ask, are there Dalmatians in the film? Yes, there are. There's not 101, there is 3. There's also 2 other dogs who are street dogs who also play a big role in the group, the gang. And they definitely still focus a lot on animals. And this is kind of what ties it back into the 101 Dalmatians thing. So where does this movie sit? This is where I struggle. If you have really small kids, I wouldn't take them to this. It is rated PG. There is some violence and some scenes that may be a bit disturbing for younger kids, so maybe leave them at home. If you're watching on Disney Plus, you can easily just cover eyes or fast forward those scenes. There's not that many, but I understand why they're there, because they bring gravitas and really important part of the story of this character. And I think if they'd gone about it in a lighter tone, it wouldn't have worked, and it would have been a bit laughy campy. So, Cruella is out tomorrow in cinemas. It's also going to be on Disney Plus. If you can, I beg you, go to the cinemas and see this. The fashion in this, I haven't talked about the fashion. What is wrong with me? The fashion in this is almost a character in itself. There are so many costumes. There are so many costume changes. It is insane how much work went into the fashion in this film, and I almost feel like it needs a whole video on its own to kind of go through the fashion and what worked and what didn't work. I'm not a fashionista, clearly, so I'm probably not the right person to do that, but it's definitely noticeable, and it definitely added to the campness of this film, and I really, really appreciated it. So Cruella for me gets 4 stars. 4 stars out of 5. This was the biggest surprise of 2021. I was not expecting it to be this good. I wasn't even expecting it to be anything, considering the last few years of Disney live action films have been a no for me. This is the first yes. This is the first resounding yes. This is the first one where I'm like, I want an 101 Dalmatians with Emma Stone and with the two characters, Anita and Roger, who are in this film. I want to see that 101 Dalmatians movie because having the characters go from here to here is such a great journey, and I would rock up to watch it because all the people cast are fantastic in their roles and I really enjoyed it. That being said, make sure you stick around. There is a mid-credit scene, so don't leave the cinema, or if you're at home, stay on that couch because you don't want to miss it. So that is it. That's my review of Cruella. Thanks so much for watching. I'm finally back at the movies now, and I'll be back with more reviews and news later. Thanks for watching. Bye.